Hi, and welcome to my Simhangar. The ACES 2 ejection seat was one of the first parts I built for my simulator. In 2002, my project got featured on Austria's television, and during filming they wanted to show me building something. Until then, I just had cut the consoles and panels, and I planned on using an old car seat. So my dad and me used Chris van Lierup's plans that were the only available source at the time and started building the ejection seat for the show. The seat has been used in the state until 2013, where I started building the seat rails. But as some of you may know, life got in the way and I never finished them. Since I was reworking the whole pit anyways, I decided to finish the seat rails and change or add all the things that I didn't like. The ejection handle and mechanism work, but I don't like the way everything feels. It was just a small linear spring which doesn't need much force. The wooden handle bracket has no guide to sit in and everything is wobbly as hell. The safety lever was made out of wood, so it was very light. It doesn't produce enough force in the down position, and the solution I made for it doesn't work anymore. The restraint emergency release lever is too big, and it's already broken and wobbles. The seat rails are not mounted to anything yet, and nothing is painted and looks terrible. And finally, the seat cushion is so hard it's more of a seat pen than a soft cushion. So let's get to work. Here's how the seat cushion looks disassembled. We've got the cover, a harder piece, feels a bit like cardboard, and the foam part, which consists of 2 layers of foam. Those foam parts have gotten dry and hard, so I will make this with some packaging material I kept during the years, because I thought they would come in handy someday. I already used the original cardboard layer as template to cut my thicker pad. Now I'm doing the same to the thin foam layer. I'm just drawing the cut lines on it and cut it with a box cutter. Once all parts are cut, it's time to put it into the cover again. A bit of adjustment and we're done. Finally, soft and springy again. My first idea for the new bracket of the ejection handle was to build it completely from aluminum, maybe even CNC mill it. So I started with a 3D model based on real dimensions I found on Viper pits. To keep it simpler, I decided to do a mirrored version compared to the real thing, which isn't the same on both sides. As with most of my complex parts, I 3D printed it first to have a look how everything fit and if it worked out as I intended. After I temporarily mounted the handle to the bracket and did some really forceful tests, I realized it's rock solid and I decided to keep it as 3D printed part. I added a 3D printed swivel bracket, replaced the temporary screws with 4 metal pins, and used a small piece of 10 by 10 mm aluminum to fixate the cable. After some paint, it looks and works really great. As with quite a lot of the parts in version 2 of the sim, most things are based on the real-life counterparts. So I wanted the ejection mechanism to also look and work closely to the real one. It now has a 2-stage spring mechanism, which starts easy and needs more force the closer to the final position you get. The rotating part has a ball bearing in it that lets it rotate very easily, and everything is just mounted to the seat with one 8 mm bolt. Since everybody wants to see the failures of others, here's my version 1 of the mechanism. Maybe I should have taken some more measurements before I printed it in full size. Sadly, there is now too little space left around the rotating part to mount a switch to. So I tested a version where the end of the 3 mm threaded rod could actuate the switch, and luckily it worked out great. Due to the limited space, the travel of the handle is not as long as in the real one, but I can live with that. The edges of the swivel bracket and the black holder are chamfered to let the handle slide back into position automatically. After routing the cable to the already available connector in the back, another thing is done. My first design of the seat's position was too flat. It was tilted more than the regular 30 degrees. Sitting in the seat while flying was a bit uncomfortable, since I couldn't reach the MFDs easily enough. To adjust it, I added some spaces under the seat to raise it a bit, and also added a new top plate on the backside of the base where the rails could lean against. These two changes tilted the seat just into the perfect position. Mounting the rail assembly to the base itself is done with two 3D printed brackets. The forces on them are not too big, but if they really would break, I could just exchange them with two aluminum or steel angle brackets. After removing the seat, which is quite heavy at the moment, I could remove the rail assembly and work on the top plate. The positions where the rails touch it are already marked, so removing the unnecessary corners was quickly done. A bit of sanding and it was ready to get painted. But before I do that, I need to change another thing on the base: the wheels. The old ones are cheap wheels from IKEA, and the years took their toll on them. I've already changed them on the right console. Now it was a good time to do it on the middle part, before all the other changes to it. To make my life a bit easier, cross braces were also added, since the mounting plates of the new wheels are bigger and thus would not fit on the wood strips beneath the base plate. Now it was time to apply the paint. I'm using soft foam brushes, which are really easy to work with and leave a nice finish and no hairs inside the paint. The board for the seat rail base is quite heavy, so I decided to add some relief holes, which makes it lighter and easier to handle. No templates were needed, I just measured more or less by eye and cut them out with my jigsaw by hand. Afterwards, it also got a coat of paint, but I forgot to press the record button, so here it is, with still some fresh paint drying on it. The final pieces to keep the rail assembly from moving too much left or right were two 3D printed brackets to fix it to the back top plate. There's not much to it. I just positioned everything closely, then marked and drilled the needed holes for the bolts. With the bolts tightened, everything stays perfectly in position and it's quite easy to insert or remove the seat now. As I have already mentioned, my old safety handle was made from light wood and it didn't produce enough force in the down position. So I created a poor man's switch with 2 nails and some wire, but once the wire lost its little bit of springiness, that didn't work anymore. My plan was to replace that with a real micro switch and a mechanism that keeps the handle pushing down and needs a bit more force to move it into either position. Here's what I came up with. Instead of mounting the handle to the top like before, I designed a whole housing for it that can be mounted from the side. All parts are 3D printed except the connector between threaded rod and handle, which is made from aluminum. The small transparent block is used as a cam that pushes the rod up after the spring has been compressed and releases it again. I got a nice small micro switch with a roller arm that gets actuated by the handle's nose. First step to work on was to remove all the old parts, including the 3mm aluminum strip that makes up the top of the sidewall. Chris Van Lierup's seat design has the knee guards made from 2 parts, and to make my housing fit, I needed to cut away some of the outer part. After positioning and marking everything, I took it to the bandsaw, made the needed cuts, and reattached the part to the seat again. I temporarily mounted the handle to adjust the position and height of the microswitch, mounted the switch, and tested if everything worked. Now I could mount the cam block, solder the cable to the switch, and screw everything to the seat. Do you remember the old aluminium strip? I cut it to the new needed length, adjusted the hole for the shoulder harness lock lever, and put on a new coat of paint. The cable also got a nicer routing and terminates at the same connector as the ejection handle. I'm pretty pleased how it turned out. Work on the flight data recorder was quite easy, since I didn't have to do anything more than print it, paint it, and mount it. It's a design by Radstock over at MyPuppets, which is really great, easy to print, and it looks fantastic once assembled. All I had to do was to screw the mounting plate to the seat and attach the FDR to it. Done. Since the FDR is now placed where the old ACES sticker was, I made a new one and put it below it. Looks good to me. The new RER handle is a design I did based on plans I found at MyPuppets. Once again, it's just a 3D printed part which looks quite nice after a coat of paint and a sticker on it. I also needed a new 3D printed cover because of the new mounting method of the handle. Mounting the new handle took a bit of work, but nothing spectacular. I first removed the old handle to mark the position on the alu strip for the slots to slide the new handle through. Then everything got disassembled. The slot was made quick and dirty, by just drilling some holes and then file it flat. I'm pretty sure setting up my milling machine to cut the slot would have taken longer than this. After a short check if I didn't screw anything up, the alu strip got a new layer of paint and everything was mounted to the seat again. Finally, I 3D printed and painted the last accessories for the seat. A connector for the loose air hose besides the oxygen bottle, and a small cover below the ring. And here it is. The seat finished in all its glory. Thanks for watching.